Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Reawaken Your Brilliance. I'm so honored that you've decided to join us tonight. I want you to look around where you are right now, whether it's your home or office, TV room, and what do you feel? Do you feel good? Do you feel inspired? Do you feel happy to be there? Or do you feel a little overwhelmed, a little claustrophobic? Is there a lot of clutter in there? Would you like to change that? You know, in Feng Shui, they say if you want to change your life, to change the energy around you, and they consider clutter to be stuck in stagnant energy. So change your life. If you change your clutter, you'll change your life. And tonight's guest is going to talk to us about that. Marla Silly, a.k.a. the FlyLady, is the best-selling author of Sync Reflections and Body Clutter. She's become a mentor to those living in chaos and clutter. Her email group has 800,000 plus members from around the globe. FlyLady hosts a weekly radio program that is one of the most popular and downloaded shows on Blog Talk Radio. She has recently ventured into video production of FlyLady TV. In addition to FlyLady's own syndicated column in 200-plus newspapers weekly, she has been featured in many magazines and newspapers, including Women's Day, Southern Living, Real Simple, Good Housekeeping, Parade, USA Today, The Washington Post, and The Wall Street Journal. FlyLady's special gift for mentoring has been featured on television shows such as CNN, The Today Show, Talk of the Town, and many news programs on major networks affiliates. Welcome, Marla.
Hi, Julie.
Thank you so much for being here. I just want to give a shout out before we start to our mutual friend, Heather O. Marla and I were in an event together in January, and I was too shy to even go up and say hey to her, and I had said, the FlyLady was at the same event, and our friend Heather was like, she's my friend, let me introduce you. So I've had the privilege of becoming friends with Marla on Facebook, and what I love about her is what you see is what you get, and she's the real deal and someone who's really genuine. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here.
You're very welcome.
So everyone, before we get started, I have lots of questions for Marla, but if you have a question for her, you can chat. Call in at 919-518-9773 or Skype, computers, 2K voice. Marla, I'd like you to tell us a little bit. You weren't the FlyLady. So can you tell us about life before the FlyLady and what happened to turn you into the FlyLady?
Oh, you're not going to do that to me, are you?
You can give the abbreviated version. You know, the emphasis for doing this show for me is I want people to live authentic, happy, wonderful lives, and so many of the guests I've had on have been in places where they haven't been happy and they haven't been living the life they've wanted to, and so I want to show people that someone like you who's really fantastic came from a place and had struggles and was able to overcome that.
Well, if you go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/the FlyLady, you can see a video that's sort of put together of everything, every little video clip I've done. But one of the things that it touches in that is that I suffered with severe depression once upon a time. And that depression was brought on because of, a bad marriage and clutter and chaos around me. And I got control of that clutter and chaos and came out of it. And then Robert and I met in 96 and we got married, and I couldn't keep house, and I felt so guilty because I couldn't keep house. He was this wonderful man. He deserved to have this great wife, and yet I didn't know how to keep house. So I woke up on New Year's Day like every other red-blooded American female in 1996, and in 99 is the year, and I decided, okay, I'm going to get organized. And that was the year I was going to take public office. I was going to become a county commissioner, and I became involved in politics because I was a fly fisherman, and I wanted to make sure from an ecological standpoint that we kept our streams clean. So that's why I got into politics.
Well, woohoo on keeping the streams clean, because that's so important, very important. And so hence that's why you're called the FlyLady, because of the love of fly fishing, correct?
That is where it came from.
Well, that's fantastic. So talk to us a little bit about body clutter or clutter in general. How does that affect your body, mind, and spirit?
Well, the clutter is in your mind, And the results of the clutter that's in your head, it is behind, all around you. It builds up on your backside. It's in your living room. It's in your kitchen drawers. It's clutter is everywhere because you're not taking care of yourself. And when I can teach you to finally love yourself, the results of that are you start losing a little weight because you're eating better and you're drinking your water. You get rid of the clutter that's on all your hot spots, and before you know it, your house is gleaming and you're shining from the inside out.
You know, I love that. That's so central. Love yourself first, and then the rest will follow.
Hey, they tell us on an airplane, if the oxygen mask come down, you got to put yours on first.
That's so true. So what is chaos, and what does that stand for?
Chaos stands for can't have anyone over syndrome. Do you live in chaos?
I don't.
Good.
I don't. Although I have to tell you, I have changed. I've read all your books, and there's one thing. Well, first, the DH, which is Dear Husband. You'll learn a lot of acronyms tonight if you're not familiar with the FlyLady. But that was a light bulb moment for me, and I believe your husband Robert said to you was to take the socks off and not turn them inside out, which saves you a step when you laundered them. And I think I love
brilliant.
that. I mean, it is. It's brilliant. I'm like, he needs to get an Academy Award or something for that, because that has literally made a huge difference. And I don't have clutter. I'm organized. But one thing I did that I changed since reading your books was I used to leave dishes in the sink. Now, not a ton, and I'm not talking about the pan that needs to be soaked overnight, but I used to leave the dishes in the sink. And after you're reading your book, I do not do that anymore. A little bit I'll slip up now and then, but I have to thank you to that. So that leads to my next question. Why does it always start with a shining your sink?
Well, because you got to start someplace. Why not? Why not the sink? So that's where it started with me when I sat down to try to figure out why I was not organized. I was determined to know why I couldn't keep house. And what I realized is I had never established a habit. And when you don't establish a habit, then you have ineffective habits. So I picked keeping my sink clean and shiny as that one thing to start with. And I could obsess about it. I spent 2 hours shining it the first time. I had to take a chisel to our hard water and the calcium deposits around the rim and around the faucet. And I worked diligently at keeping that sink clean and shiny for the whole month of January. And psychologists tell us it takes 21 days to establish a new habit. Well, no, it doesn't. I think we need a little grace in all of it. And so, and being kind to me, I made 2 New Year's resolutions, and one of them was to get organized, and the other one was be kind to me. And that's why shining the sink changed everything, because then the countertops got cleared and the dishwasher got empty, because you're not going to put a dish in your sink, so you've got to have a dirty dish disposal unit. And then the stove, it looked around the room and said everything else is clean me too. And before you knew it, it was easy to go into the kitchen and start cooking a meal for yourself and not feel guilty.
I think it's so great. I have seen friends comment on my Facebook page who aren't commenting on your FlyLady fan page, but are just saying, I shined my sink today. And it's just so interesting and wonderful that you've created this kind of phenomenon, and that people talk about shining their sink and people know what they're talking about. I think they do. That's really wonderful. And I want to remind everyone, if you have a question for Marla, you can call 919-518-9773. Chat a question. We're here for that. And also Skype voice at computers 2K voice. So I want to talk about some of your acronyms. Fly and flying. What's that stand for?
Well, FLY is finally loving yourself. One of my members came up with that acronym early on, and it fit what we do. When you finally love yourself, it just changes everything. So now we've just taken on the flying aspect of it. People like to say they're fluttering, but I think that's their perfectionism getting in the way of you're doing something, so I consider that flying.
Since you've written books and teach so many people, is there something in common that you found why people don't love themselves? Have you had an aha moment around that, or maybe a pattern that you've noticed?
Well, I think it all has to do with being so rushed that we don't take time for ourselves. It's let's do one more thing, let's do one more thing, let's do one more thing, and it all just starts to pile on, and we think if we keep going harder and faster, we're going to get more stuff done, and then we pride ourselves in being able to multitask, and when you multitask, nothing ever gets finished.
I think that's so true. I have felt out of balance lately, and what I figured out is I've been too busy with the busyness, and that's got to stop for me to have more balance in my life and take priority of caring for myself and relaxing and having some fun.
Caring for yourself is what it's all about, because if you replenish your batteries even 5 minutes every hour, you're going to see a big difference in your productivity during the day.
Absolutely. So what's stinking thinking?
Well, stinking thinking is those negative attitudes that we have grown up with. From the day we were born, we were told, if you can't do it right, don't do it at all. And guess what? We didn't think we had time, so we did nothing. Mm-hmm. And when you have that stinking thinking permeating every part of your being, you're beating yourself up. We've got to reprogram that negativity. We've got to get it out of your life so that the voices you hear are kind, loving voices, and they start with me, and eventually they become your voice.
That's fantastic. What? Tell us about Franny and HALT. I enjoyed those acronyms too.
Well, Franny isn't an acronym. Franny's the name that Kelly's daughter, at the time she was 11, named a cartoon character we had on our original website. And she was kind of frumpy looking and just had a T-shirt on and sweats and house shoes, and her hair had rollers in it. Well, sometimes we don't even get around to getting the rollers in our hair. And she looked at her and she called her Franny. And so instead of saying fanny, which is in Ireland is a really ugly word for female parts, we said instead of get off your fanny, it was get off your franny, and that's sort of how that came about.
I like that. That's a good story. And what's HALT stand for? I think that's an acronym.
That's an acronym. It's in my Body Clutter book. It stands for when you start feeling yourself getting, as you called it, centered or getting antsy, you have to stop. And HALT is the word for that. So you think about, am I hungry? Have you eaten today? Am I angry? Has something upset me? And this anger, because women turn anger inwards. And then the L in HALT stands for lonely. So if you're lonely, that means you need to pick up the phone and call somebody or talk to somebody or go visit somebody. What you need, what you're feeling, you need to reach out and do that. And then the T part is thirst or tired. Mm-hmm. So it could be two T's there. If you haven't had enough water today and you're a little dehydrated, or if you didn't go to bed at a decent hour last night and you're not taking care of yourself and getting enough sleep.
But I think that's really wonderful. I've read both of your books, and I especially love the one about body clutter because I think, for me, I'm an emotional eater. So HALT's something that comes in handy because I'm stuffing the Reese's in my mouth, not for anything but for one of those reasons, and usually because I'm angry or maybe tired and too lazy to cook. But what have you found? Have you found anything in common with body clutter and women and what that comes from?
Well, when I have an event and there's 1,000 women in the room, what I see is about 75% of them are overweight. And I'm right there with them. I have had body clutter most of my life, and I've been dealing with it when I've lost 53 pounds when I wrote Body Clutter, but I didn't understand why I lost that weight until I read a book in April, and that book was Gary Tobbs's Why We Get Fat, and it's the science behind reducing carbs and what carbs do to someone who is pre-diabetic, what the sugar in their bloodstream and the insulin in that goes in to fight the blood sugar, what it does to our fat burning capabilities. It turns the switch off. And knowing that has changed my life. I've lost 30 pounds since April, and it's so easy to do.
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
It's working for me, and I've given the book away so many times it's not even funny. And I even got an email from Gary Tobbs because I had promoted it, and he couldn't figure out what was going on until somebody told him it was me.
What is the first thing you ask people to do when they join the FlyLady, and why?
Well, it's to go shine their sink. That's the first thing. And they can get their sink clean and shiny, and then it's to pick out their clothes for tomorrow. So it makes it easier getting up in the morning.
I love this quote, and I'm sure there's some organizers out there that might disagree with you, but that's okay. Or they're welcome to call in if they do. You said in your book, there's not much difference between a born organized person and a sidetracked person. The dividing line is perfectionism. Can you elaborate on that?
It's real simple. That line is drawn in the sand. With someone who is born organized, they go across that line until they get it done. They're obsessed with getting it done, and better not anybody mess it up either. With a sidetracked person, they get to that line of perfectionism, and it stops them dead in their tracks because they don't think they have time to do it right. They really don't finish the sentence. What they say to themselves is, I don't have time to do that right now, but they forget to say, do it perfectly, and they just turn away and do nothing. So the born organized person goes until it's finished, goes overboard, and probably wears herself out in the process instead of taking breaks, and the sidetracked person just does nothing.
So what advice would you give for the born organized people out there?
To pace themselves.
Mm-hmm. And
to not go hog wild and spend 8 hours cleaning the tile grout in their shower.
Yeah, I would never do that. I definitely wouldn't. And I want to talk about the P word. Before we started, everyone, Amnon and I said the P word several times to the FlyLady, who I think if she could punch us through the TV, she would. So what's the perfect word? Talk to us about the word perfect.
Perfectionism is the evil that permeates our being because we've been taught, if you can't do it right, don't do it at all. That is perfectionism. So I just want to eliminate the word perfect from our vocabulary, from our dictionary. There's only one perfect thing, and that's our God, and we're never going to get there. And that's why he gave us grace and, that sort of thing. So we've got to take care of ourselves and not get caught up in the perfectionism so that we can literally, good enough is good enough. Mm-hmm. And housework done incorrectly still blesses your family. Even if it's not perfect, it still gets the floor clean so your baby can crawl on it.
Absolutely. We've got a chat question. She says, I have been talking about this so much lately. I need you, FlyLady. I keep talking about the fact that I do not have an organized brain. I was just not born that way. I struggle with the organization on a daily issue. And she's been following you since 2002. So she's
probably beating herself up because she's not flying perfectly. And there is no perfect way to fly. You adapt the system to fit your family and you, but if you're not taking care of yourself, you're going to have issues. If you're not getting up and getting dressed to lace up shoes, you're going to have issues. So she's thrown a question out there, but I'd probably really need her to call in so I could dig a little deeper as to why she hasn't found success yet.
Okay, Shireen, if you want to call in, you can call in at 919-518-9773. If you're on Skype, because I know we have people across the country, you can do computers, 2K voice, and save yourself a dime. It's interesting, Marla, my mom has that someone gave her a little plaque in the kitchen that says, if mama ain't happy, no one's happy. And I think that that's so true. And unless you take care of yourself, You can't help others. You can't.
You can't take care of your family. I mean, we live by the golden rule to do unto others as we would do unto ourselves. And when we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of anybody else. We have to take care of ourselves first.
And I'm going to deviate for a moment. We'll see if Shireen's going to call in. I was sent this question prior to the show. I have a small master bath, which I plan to remodel soon. What do you recommend in the way of materials and design to make it easy to keep clean and maintain? I'm more interested in it being easily clean than being trendy.
We've got a little feedback going on right now.
Shireen?
Yes.
You didn't read what I wrote there. Do you see the speaker icon below the FlyLady on the website?
Let me see.
You need to mute it. Or you can actually mute your speaker all the way.
Oh, I think I did it. Did I do it?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Now you're okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. We're not perfect.
So go ahead, Shireen. You have a question or you want to comment a little more for the FlyLady?
Yes. Well, no, they told me to call in.
Okay, that's great. Well, the question that you asked me is, I sort of dug a little deeper, and you want to know kind of why you haven't gotten there yet.
Yes, I have not gotten there yet. I struggle with organization every single day, and I've been talking about this like constantly lately. I am just not an organized person. I am not. I feel like I can be put in that category of ADHD, but I just I don't finish things. I don't know how to organize my office. I struggle with it all the time, and I just don't know how to solve the problem.
Well, let me ask you about your level of clutter.
Okay.
How much do you have in your office?
Well, see, I organize it, and then as soon as I have like an event or a party or something, like it gets completely disorganized.
Okay,
and,
here's what I want you to know. You can't organize clutter.
Okay.
Any organized person, if you know somebody that's born organized and can help you, you can get them to come to your house. It's okay to ask for help. You can't organize clutter. You have to get rid of the clutter and only keep the things you love and you use and you need. You don't need everything either. You've got to get the clutter out of the house. That's going to make the organization much easier. That's the first thing they do on the clean house shows and the hoarder shows is they get rid of the clutter. So eliminate the clutter and it's going to be easier.
I don't know what to keep and what to throw away. That's one problem. And then my biggest issue of clutter is the paper clutter. Like, I just don't know what to do with paper. I don't know what I'm supposed to keep and what I'm not supposed to keep, like as far as bills and taxes and all that kind of thing. And I've been following you since 2002, and I don't, but I obviously I haven't done it step by step by step because I get frustrated with myself, and I've also got the perfectionism thing going on.
Do you get my emails?
I say we're cluttering my inbox, so I stopped getting them.
Okay. Digital clutter is not clutter because it's not physical. There's a number there, and you may think it's clutter. You've got to start reading the emails. That's why you're not, you haven't been fly washed yet because you're not paying attention. You've signed on to get the messages, yet you're not reading them. I just want you to spend 15 minutes a day. This month we're dealing with paper clutter, and tomorrow's radio show is all about paper clutter. And I had a CPA in the room with me last week who is a sidetracked person, and I got the answers from the horse's mouth practically. You only have to keep 7 years.
7 years, okay.
I actually have about 30 years worth of tax returns with the corresponding receipts to go with it, but it only takes up 6 inches in my filing cabinet because each year is in a manila folder and a manila envelope, and it just doesn't take up a lot of room. My husband likes to have it, and it makes him happy. But your clutter in your office and on every surface, most of it is trash, and you're not throwing the trash away.
Right. That's right.
Do you have a shredder?
No, I used to. I've gone through 2 shredders. I've broke them both.
Well, get one that is a professional shredder. They cost a little more. They'll last you much longer, and you have to oil them.
Okay.
All right.
You start getting the clutter out of your home, and you'll see a big difference.
Okay, and I'll start reading my emails 15 minutes a day. I do the 15 minutes on the clock all the time. I think of you all the time. Believe me.
Well, it can change your life. We got to get in your head. You got to get FlyLady in your head just a little bit.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy I got to talk to you tonight. Thank you.
Thanks for calling in, Shireen. We appreciate
all right,
it.
Thanks, Julie. Okay, bye-bye.
And now I wanted to ask you before we had kind of interference. I have to make sure that I ask this question or I might not get turkey at Thanksgiving. So the question is, I have a small master bath which I plan to remodel soon. What do you recommend in the way of materials and design to make it easy to keep clean and maintain? I am more interested in it being easily clean than being trendy. So do you have some thoughts on that?
Well, when I remodeled my bathroom, I have a cultured stone. It's just one piece and a garden tub with jets and things, and I keep a rubber scrubber in my bathtub so that I can clean around the jets and that sort of thing. While I'm actually in the tub, I have a granite countertop and a granite front to my bath, and I have this tile floor, and it's hard to clean, but I didn't want to fall, so I got a tile floor that's supposed to go on the outside, and I have to use my little rubber sweeper to scrub it, but a little Windex and some water, and I'm good to go. And it makes my bathroom sparkle. And it's, a little swish and swipe every day. And that's what we teach is 30 seconds to clean your bathroom, and your bathroom's always company ready.
Great. Thank you for that. And we have a really wonderful comment on the chat from Cindy I want to share with you because I think it was, I'm sure, an aha moment for many people out there. She wrote, I have never thought about you can't organize the clutter. Aha moment. So hopefully that will put a light bulb in some other heads out there. But I think that's really important. You can't organize the clutter.
Well, what happens when you try to organize clutter is you put it in these nice little Rubbermaid bins and satin boxes and little organizing drawers, and then you lose something. Or you have a project, or you do something like Serene was talking about, and it blows up everywhere. Those boxes throw up all over the house, and it's in a worse mess than it was before.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I have another question for you. You wrote a really wonderful chapter on forgiveness, and you had this quote. Again, this was an aha moment for me. Guilt is lack of forgiveness manifested in physical anxiety. Can you comment on that and talk a little bit about that? And you talk a lot, you have this whole chapter on forgiveness, how we need to forgive ourselves.
Well, it's something that I've actually sent an email out about last night, was forgiveness. And, we all get in places where we say things that we really shouldn't say. And, things when we're tired and we don't halt and figure out what's wrong with us, then these things come out of our mouths, and it's poison. And this guilt that we have from this, if we don't forgive ourselves and ask for forgiveness in return from the people we've harmed, it's just going to keep eating away and eating away. Who are we to not forgive ourselves? And I don't want to go on a religious kick, but we are forgiven. If we can't forgive ourselves, God has already forgiven us. So get over it and let go of it and apologize and do what you need to do, but don't harp on it, because you can't change what's happened.
Can only live in the present moment.
That's right.
So talk a little bit about, we touched on it earlier about procrastination because it stands in the way of reaching goals. And so one of the things I love about you is you talk about baby steps. So fill us in a little more about baby steps. We had a chatter who is loving you and had never heard of you until tonight. So I know we probably have a lot of your fans on, but for the people who haven't read you or visited your website, talk a little bit about baby steps.
Well, a baby, let's just think about the word baby steps. You've watched your child take those little steps, and then they take their first step, maybe two, and then they fall down on their little butt, and then they get up, and they're not held back. They don't sit there and say, I'm never going to walk again. I took 2 steps, but I'm not going to do it anymore. They have to practice. So that's what baby steps are all about, is doing one little thing, not going overboard and trying to kill yourself getting it done, but to just take a few minutes here, there, and yonder and do a little bit. 5 minutes. This year our motto is let's go for 7 in 2011. So we're setting our timers for 7 minutes. We're picking up 7 things. We're playing the 7 bingo game, and we're having fun with stuff, because in the end all we really want to do is play like a child, and if we take these baby steps we will eventually get there.
So once we mentioned 7s, this is one of my favorite things. What's a 27 fling boogie? I love that.
Well, let me tell you how the 27 fling boogie came about. I read Susie Orman's book, The Courage to Be Rich. And at the same time, I was reading a book, I don't even know who the author was, but it was 101 Ways to Feng Shui Your Home. And it talked about in that book to move 9 things. You're more up on Feng Shui than I am. But Susie Orman talked about getting rid of 25 items as fast as you could. Running through your house with a grocery sack, gather up 25 items of trash. And then to run through the house and gather up 25 items to throw away. Well, I'm reading both these books at the same time because that's what I do. And I thought, okay, I'll put it together. And we'll do 9 times 3 is 27. We'll have triple the energy change in our room. And we'll get rid of 27 things instead of 25. And that's how the 27 Fling Boogie was born.
I like that. That's really great. I think, of course, I'm assuming that when we say trash, it means we can recycle it or give it away or donate it.
The only thing that doesn't get recycled in my house is the credit card applications. And if you have a good shredder, then you can shred the pieces, a cross-cut shredder, and you can take them to the Humane Society where they can let puppies go on them.
Oh, that's a great... thank you for that. That's a really good suggestion. So talk to me about your basic weekly plan.
Well, that's sort of like FlyLady 201. You start out with the morning, afternoon, and before bed routines. And then after you got that down pat, you start thinking about the days of the week. So when we were little, we sang a song, This is the Way We Wash Our Clothes, every Monday morning. Well, each day of the week has a basic day plan. So if Monday is weekly home blessing hour, which is doing 7 things in your home to sort of quickly clean it, not spending all day, you're spending just a few minutes on each item. This year we've taken it to the 7 level. So we're doing 7 minutes to mop our floors, 7 minutes to vacuum, and 7 minutes to change the sheets. That you're good if you can do that in 7 minutes. And we're taking it to that 7 Armado level. But with Weekly Home Blessing, Wednesday is always anti-procrastination day. Thursday is our errand day because nobody likes to go to the grocery store on Friday after work. That's just terrible. Wednesday we make our grocery list and get things ready for next week. We make our menu plans. We clean out a refrigerator. It's all the things you don't want to do on Wednesday, is because it's anti-procrastination day. On Thursday is the errand day. On Friday, it's clean out your car and clean out your purse or your diaper bag or the kids' backpacks. They need to be cleaned out to make sure there's no bananas rotting till Monday. So every Friday that comes around. Fill your car up so you're not running on empty. And you go to the grocery store and make sure you have all the food in the house on Thursdays. Saturday and Friday is also date night. So get that on the calendar. Plan things to do. Trade up babysitting with a friend who they keep the kids one Friday night and you keep the kids another Friday night. That way, 2 nights out of a month, you've gotten some quality time with your husband. Then you've got Saturday is family fun day. I don't want you cleaning house all day Saturday.
I think that's great advice.
I don't like that at all. And then Sunday is Renew Our Spirit Day. It's to do things that sort of bring you back to who you are, things that bring you joy, that make you feel well-rounded and loved. And it's however you want to do it, whether it's go to church or sit on your front porch or just listen to classical music like I do. It's up to you.
I like that. That's really wonderful. What is a control journal?
Well, we all need an instruction manual for our home. And how many times have you lost all your phone numbers in your phone when it crapped out on you?
Last week?
Last week. That's not fun, is it?
No.
And if you don't have a paper copy of that in your control journal, you literally, you feel lost. It's just it's the worst feeling ever. So a control journal is an instruction manual for your home. You put down I use a little 4x6 photo album and note cards. 4x6 note cards, and I write down a morning routine, I write down an afternoon routine, and I write down a before bed routine. And then I have my basic weekly plan, the days of the week. What do I do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? And then the monthly zones. That's a whole nother area. So that's what goes in the control journal. Plus, if you have a babysitter that comes in, a babysitter doesn't know where you live, and so half the time don't even know the address of the house. If they were to have to call 911 or try to get someone there for help if they needed it. So all of that stuff is in the control journal, and along with your basic people that you need to call if the air conditioning goes out or the heat goes out or the water's off or something breaks down, who's the plumber to call?
That's great. I mean, we all need that. And again, that happened to me last week, so I know how that goes. I had some of the numbers, but sometimes, you can rely on technology so much, and it's something, I'm not comfortable with. So I think Control Journal is the way to go. Talk about God Breeze, because you've talked about grace, and I just like the name God Breeze that you came up with, and I think of that a lot.
I didn't come up with it. My husband came up with that. And on our very first date, he was telling me about how our whole lives, I don't know if it was a pickup line or what it was, but it was still wonderful, and I love it. He talked about us being in two boats in the middle of a still lake, and that think of God as the old north wind, and they puff out their cheeks so that and he blows this breath at you. Well, if you're willing to go where that breeze takes you, you pull your sails up and you let the breeze take you. If you're not willing, if you're surrounded by clutter and chaos, you don't do anything and you sit dead in the water, not fulfilling your potential. And I have lived my whole life, well, especially the last 15 years, being willing to go where that breeze sent me. And it's been, the clutter and chaos would have kept me from starting the email group, which today it's 680,000, and we have 219,000 on Facebook. And I would have never even dreamed that anybody wanted to hear what I had to say, much less have a following like this.
I think that's so important to remember. I mean, life has so many wonderful surprises that you can't anticipate. If you would have told me I'd be doing this show, that wasn't part of the plan. Starting my business wasn't part of the plan. North Carolina wasn't part of the plan. But, you just kind of listen to that, and if you're open to it, you can be taken to some really amazing places. And, again, you never know how it's going to turn out.
Well, I moved to North Carolina with a second husband. Robert's my third husband, and we were only married about 8 months, but when he left, we had our first fight and he left, I said to myself, okay, God, you've brought me to North Carolina for a reason. I'm going to stick around and see what it has to offer. And 2 years later, I met my sweet darling.
Which DH is dear husband, correct? Am I remembering correctly?
Yes, that's correct.
I'm single, so I don't have a DH. That's why it's hard to remember. So talk about your Bless Your Heart Club. I grew up, I'm from West Virginia, but all the women in my family say bless your heart, and when I saw that on your website, I'm like, that's so great, because I don't know if that's a Southern or North Carolinian thing, but I don't hear that much.
Well, bless your heart can mean you poor stupid thing. Or it can actually mean you're getting up and moving for 15 minutes each day. So in the South, when someone says bless your heart, they're kind of laughing at you. Are they really sincere? And they're one of the church ladies saying bless your heart. So,
Well, I hope my mom hasn't been laughing at me all these years. If not, I'm in trouble. Hopefully not.
Yeah, I don't think your mom would say bless your heart in a derogatory way.
Well, we'll hope not. I don't think so either. So I love your 11 commandments. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I don't know them off the top of my head.
Well, just general idea. It's not a quiz.
Well, the thing about the 11 commandments is if you'll do the 11 things, you'll be more relaxed. And, don't pull out more than you can put back in an hour. I mean, we get started cleaning out a closet and we want to see an empty closet. Well, don't do that. Do one shelf. Get rid of the clutter on that one shelf. Put things back. Maybe just precisely pluck things out off the shelf instead of trying to pull it off and see an empty space. Take a break every hour if possible. You deserve to take a break every day for just a little while. You don't have to push yourself so hard. Go over some of them and I can talk about them if you'll say them, because I can't see them right in front of my face because I'm not changing anything on my computer to go find them.
No, well, if I could, are they on your website? Because I have a list of questions, but I didn't write them all out.
Well, we'll just, if somebody can put them in the chat that knows where they're on my website in the flying lessons.
We'll look for that. In the meantime, I want to remind everyone, if you have a question for the FlyLady, you can chat a question, which I will read to her, or you can call in at 919-518-9773, or I know we have listeners across the country. You can save a dime and Skype at computers, the number 2K voice. And so while we look those up, you've talked about this a couple times, and because this 2011 at 7. So why is a timer? Why do you have people use a timer and suggest it become their new best friend?
Well, a timer gets us started, but it also tells us to stop, because we will go overboard and wear ourselves out. But you don't get to keep doing the same thing when the timer goes off. You go on to the next thing. That's why we like to play the number 7 bingo. You make a list of 7 things that need to be done. Maybe it's clean off your desk or wash the dishes. You make a list in number 1 to 7. And then you put 7 little pieces of paper with the numbers 1 through 7 on there. And you pull one out. And whatever number you pick, you set your timer for 7 minutes and go spend 7 minutes doing that one thing. It doesn't mean you're going to get finished, but you're going to be 7 minutes closer to being finished than you were when you didn't do it.
When you didn't start. I think that's so important. Think of how many things, I mean, even if it's cleaning or shining your sink or decluttering, that we stop ourselves from doing before we even start it. We've lost the battle because we won't start.
We don't even start because we don't think we have time to do it right.
That's right. Now I'm going to read your 11 commandments. I have them up here now. Keep your sink clean and shiny, and we've talked about that. Get dressed every morning, even if you don't feel like it. Don't forget your lace-up shoes. You know what I love about this? Because I work from home when I'm not with clients, I do that. I think it's so important, especially for people out there like me who are small business owners, and especially if they do the administrative work from their home, that you get dressed every morning. So comment a little bit about that.
Well, I learned that from Mary Kay. And she taught us, if you're going to talk to a client, you better be dressed. And she wanted you in heels. She really wanted you dressed in a dress and in heels. I wear lace-up shoes because it's more efficient to go out in the garden and chase down the dogs if I have to. And we have had testimonials from ladies who had to chase a baby down, who got out of the house and running toward the highway. So having your shoes on gets you ready to do whatever needs to be done. It's not an excuse. You don't have to put your shoes on to take the trash out. And you've already got your shoes on. Now, if you're one of these people that don't like to wear shoes in your house, then get a pair of shoes that you only wear in the house. And you're going to have to change shoes to go outside. But you're still going to have a pair of shoes on, because when we're in our house shoes are barefoot, it tells our head that we are in lounge mode, not work mode.
That's a great suggestion. So you were a Mary Kay lady?
Many, many, many years ago.
Many moons ago. Well,
yeah, 1990, I think it was, or 92, somewhere around in there.
Well, I'm glad you're the FlyLady now.
Yeah.
I think that suits you. I don't know. Maybe I could see you as a Mary Kay lady. I don't know. You're very personal. I bet you sold a lot.
Everything that ever happened I've ever done in my life has prepared me to be FlyLady, because I used the makeup experience I had then to do stage makeup. Everything has prepared me for what God has me doing right now.
I think that's I want everyone to think about that for a moment. Everything that you've had going on in your life, even if it's not necessarily, a good thing, will in some way help prepare you for what's to come. And
the bad marriage helped me to deal with women who are in bad situations. I ran a sawmill with 40 men, so I learned how to deal with men and how they think. I was a county commissioner, and I had a budget of $30 million to deal with. So that prepared me to be a business owner and deal with a budget. All of it has prepared me.
Well, since you've dealt with the $30 million budget, are you going to consider running for president?
Oh, goodness, no.
I don't know. I think you'd make a cool president.
I can change the world with the women in the households more so than being in the White House.
Okay, I just thought I'd just have to ask in case there are any rumors buzzing around the internet that you were thinking about running. We'll put those to rest. Oh, I like this one, number 4. Well, sorry, I skipped one. We've talked about this. Do your morning and before bedtime routine every day. Don't allow yourself to be sidetracked by the computer. Facebook.
It'll do it every time.
Mm-hmm. Pick up after yourself. If you get it out, put it away. Very basic.
That's a big one.
True.
That is huge. And I learned that from my clerk when I was a county commissioner. She was born organized. And I was having everybody to our house for Thanksgiving. And I got the house clean a week before. And I said, Sandra, how in the world do you keep your house clean? And she just looked at me like I'd lost my head. And she said, well, Marla, it's real simple. I said, tell me the secret. She said, if you get something out, you put it away. And it was one of those light bulb moments for me that just said, oh, my. Yeah, because everything's clean. Every flat surface was empty of clutter, and if you could see it out, and if you leave one piece of paper on that coffee table, it's going to multiply like rabbits.
That's true. So don't try to do 2 projects at once, one job at a time for the multitasking society.
Well, those of you who are texting and driving, shame on you. I got behind a lady the other day that literally stopped in the street, and I almost hit her because she was texting and driving.
Yeah, that's just crazy. Nothing's that important to do.
Your children deserve to drive in a safe car. You deserve to not hurt somebody else. If you're texting and driving, it's no better than drinking and driving.
I agree. Don't pull out more than you can put back in 1 hour. What do you mean by that?
Well, we've already discussed, instead of pulling everything out of your closet to clean it, just to only deal with one shelf or one drawer. Or I had one lady email me one time. She was going to clean her library, her books. And if I took all the books off of our shelves in the library, I wouldn't know where they would go back. Mm-hmm. So you can't do that to yourself. She called me crying, just a basket case, because she had them all out and didn't know what to do with them.
Good advice. I love number 8. Do something for yourself every day, maybe every morning and night.
Well, if you start your day with breakfast and some calm meditation and something wonderful to read, I think it sort of gets us on the right path for the day. And I do love Facebook, and there's some wonderful pictures and quotes going around, and you can have these things. I look at my email. As soon as I sit down to eat breakfast, I check my email, and there's usually a word of the day from gratefulness.org and some different things that come into my inbox that sort of set the tone for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I try to pass it on and bless others with the things that have blessed me that morning. But you set the timer because I try to be at work and ready to go by 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. I do that. I try to set the intention for my day, mentally think how it's going to go. I do that every day, and before I go to bed at night, I say what I'm grateful for, because to me that sets the tone for a good night's sleep. And if I've had any frustrations, it reminds me, hey, you've got a lot to be grateful for.
Well, and our friend Heather O writes it all down in her journal.
Mm-hmm. Which is another great thing. Yeah, I think that's wonderful advice too. Shout out to Heather O again. Number 9, work as fast as you can to get the job done. This will give you more time to play later. I know everyone likes that one. That's an easy one to follow. This is great. Number 10, smile even when you don't feel like it. It is contagious. Make your mind up to be happy and you will be. When I was younger, my dad taught me this. I think when I was probably in high school, he said, if someone asks you how you're doing, say you're excellent. And even if you aren't, you eventually will become excellent because you say it so much. And for the most part, I do that a lot. And it was amazing to me how many people will comment and say, wow, I so rarely hear people say that. They usually have something negative to say or then feel it's an opportunity just to complain. And so that's one piece of advice that's always stuck with me that people seem to really appreciate and stops them in their tracks enough to say, hey, maybe what am I thinking?
I say virtually the same thing. I say I couldn't be better.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody likes a whiner, even the whiner. So we've got to stop the whining. We've got to turn that whining switch off because nobody wants to listen to it.
I agree. And the last one, this is great. Don't forget to laugh every day. Pamper yourself. You deserve it.
Well, laughter is probably the best facelift you can have because when you're smiling and you're laughing from the inside out, you glow all over. And laughter increases endorphins in your body. You feel better when you've laughed. I mean, sometimes I laugh so hard. My assistant is nothing. She is so funny. And when we go on a road trip, our sides hurt because we've laughed so much. And her laughter is contagious. If you want to know how contagious she is, she's on our YouTube page where I open up the Declutter kit. And her laughter, everybody loves her laughter because it's so contagious.
And if people want to see you on YouTube, if they just punch in FlyLady, you'll come up?
It's youtube.com/the FlyLady.
The FlyLady, okay.
Yeah.
Now, I want to remind everyone really quickly, if you have a call for the FlyLady, it's not too late. You can call 919-518-9773 or chat a question in, or if you're across the country, computers 2K voice. So, Marla, I always ask a couple questions for each guest that I think are really important. Challenging times. Someone might be going through divorce. They might be have lost their job. They might have a sick child. What advice would you give to someone that's struggling right now?
Well, as you said earlier tonight, you got to center yourself. You got to slow down long enough to recognize what's happening in your body. And when you can do that, then you start with a place. Just this weekend, I got an email from a lady who was going through domestic violence in her home and some terrible things. And she says, I don't know where to start. Well, I sent her. I'm playing. She's beta testing something for me, and I can't wait to share it with everybody. But she's getting 11 texts from me every day and 9 voice messages to her phone.
Wow!
And I'm giving her things to do, and it's like I'm sitting on her shoulder. She did it one day, and it's totally reprogramming her woe is me attitude to she's in control.
That's wonderful. But I think that sounds really fantastic. We could all use a little you on our shoulder reminding us of stuff. And I think especially in the beginning when it's really hard and you're really challenged and depending, you might not have a lot of support, having someone constantly saying those little things to help you out.
Well, I'm going to throw a plug out for this website. It's still in beta testing, but it's ringstr.com. And Jen has she wants people who are gurus in the whole, spiritual type system to be able to motivate people. And she didn't believe that this would work, and she thought that 11 voice messages every day and 11 text messages and 9 voice messages would be way too much. So I said, you just try it. Let me. And 4 days later, her house is organized. She's confident about her new business and what she's been working on. And she called her mother in West Virginia. Oh no, her mother's in Canada, and her mother just couldn't believe it was the same person. So now, I've made a believer out of Jen for her own product. So
there you go. Well, I'm curious. That's an interesting number. Why 11 voicemails and 9 texts? Or did I get that backwards?
It's 11 texts and 9 voicemails.
Okay. Any particular reason or?
Well, 11 is my favorite number.
Well, there you go.
I was born on January the 11th.
Okay.
And 9 is a good feng shui number.
I knew that, but I didn't know if there was any reasoning behind that. That's fantastic. Now, is that something so you're testing now, so it hopefully will be out there soon, but not quite there yet?
I don't think she's ready to go live with it, but you can check it out and bookmark it so you can go back to it later.
Okay. Now, when I first asked you to be on the show, we had a conversation about this because you and I definitely think the same way. And another purpose of the show is for people to find something that works for them. What body, mind, spirit, whatever. So what one step? I'm all about action. What one step would you say to people to take right now? Okay, this is what you can do no matter what's going on. What one step can they do to take action?
I want them to go shine their sink. You have to start someplace. And that's keeping that sink clean and shiny for a whole month is going to change your life.
Okay, so if they just do that. So you have the challenge, everyone. You've heard it from the FlyLady. I want you to shine your sink for a month. And they can check in with you. And I'm sure they can comment on your website if they'd like to. Can you tell us a little bit more about how people can reach you and find out more about you?
Go to FlyLady.net. We have a Facebook fan page, too. It's Facebook.com/The FlyLady. Go sign up for our emails and click on the Getting Started page on our homepage and do the 31 baby steps. It's sort of immersion into FlyLady, learning about what we do, about all our acronyms, about the weekly home blessing hour. All of those things are in the 31 baby steps. It's sort of working you through the little things that we do, and you'll be on your way, but you got to declutter 15 minutes every day. Getting that clutter out is going to be the key, and that's what we found. People who haven't decluttered, you can't organize clutter. You have to get rid of it.
Now, do you have any, can you also repeat the titles of your books for people who might want to check those out?
We have, our first book was Sink Reflections, and I wrote it in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And a second book was Body Clutter, and the majority of it was put together in 1 month. Leanne Ely is co-author on that, and it made the New York Times bestseller list.
Congratulations.
Because I have a big mouth. I mean, I'm glad Amazon numbers count now. So
that's hey, you're using it for a good purpose. Absolutely. Now, do you have another book in the works or classes coming up, anything like that?
I'm going to be in Dallas, Texas at the end of the month on the 29th, and you can go to the innerkitties.com website and click on events, and it'll give you all the details for that. My friend Pam Young is having a retreat. It's called Happiness is a Habit, and I'm going to be one of the speakers for that. And, Pam and I just have a ball when we're together. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then I've got several things booked for next year. Focus on the Family does 3 big events, and I'll be at their events in Illinois and Wisconsin and Colorado Springs. And then I booked 3 more events today for the Texas area and Oklahoma. So
you'll be busy. That's fantastic. But people can find out all about that on your website, correct?
Yes. And in the next couple of weeks, we'll have a brand new website, and I'm excited for everybody to see what Kelly's been working on for a year.
Wow. Okay, well, it's time to unveil it then.
It is, as soon as we get the back end stuff working the way we want it to.
Well, I want to thank everyone for listening, and Marla, I want to thank you for being a guest and taking time out of your busy schedule. I truly appreciate it.
I am happy to be here, and just thank you for asking me. And when you won your award at the NAPO convention we went to in Hollywood, when they said North Carolina, I let out a big old scream. Did you hear me?
I did hear you, and I thought, who's that? Who's cheering for North Carolina? So I appreciated that.
I think they didn't know what to do with two North Carolinians winning their little prizes.
Oh, I don't think they did either. My best friend was with me, and his comment was, there was a gasp when you won. They weren't expecting it. And I said, oh, well, good to keep them on their toes.
It is good to keep them on their toes. We can make some definite waves from the state of North Carolina.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again, and thank you, everyone, and tune in next week, Wednesday at 8 p.m.
You are tuned to Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert on the Nissan Communications Network, nissancommunications.com. Drop in on our other programs, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Mondays 8 till 9 p.m., and Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Sundays 9 a.m. till noon. And if